Good evening, everybody. So we start off where we left. I think we were on this cell, my list, square bracket 7 is to 87 is to 6. So this is what we did in the last class. So moving forward, access every fifth element starting from the 34th element and ending at the 63rd element. If you got back a list whose first element is 7 and the last element is 1, then you are right. So why I am saying this is because it's a good practice that you see the question, execute it yourself, and then see the answer. So here it says every fifth element from the 34th element, right, 34th element and ending at the 63rd. So what one thing that you must remember here is on the right hand side 63 will remain 63, here also 87 will remain 87. What changes is the first number. So if it says 34 means 1 minus, because it starts from 0, so it will be 33. 33 is to 63 at an interval of 5. So this is the output that you're going to get. Try this without looking at the screen or without actually going through the lecture when you're practicing. Execute it and then check the answer. That's a good practice. So what will happen if you leave empty the number? For example, what will happen if you leave the start index empty? That will mean that it will start from the beginning. What will happen if you leave the end index empty? That will mean that it will go till the end. What will happen if you leave the size step empty? That will mean that it will not skip any element and will give every output within the range. Very important, because there are times when you are working in at a workplace and you need to you do not know where to begin, but you know the end, you don't know the beginning. So that there you just keep an empty space, but you give the last number of the element and then what interval. Similarly, you don't know the end, right, but you know the beginning. So say for example you begin at number 5 or the fourth element, just an example, the fourth element, but you don't know how long the numbers are. So you give an empty space for the ending number and then you give the intervals. So let us test your understanding. First let us print out the list. So what I'm doing here is I'm printing my list which we already created initially, and I am separating it by a comma. So separator SCP equals to apostrophe, in between there is no dot. If you can give dot also, you can give anything you want, but as a good practice we just leave the separator space empty so that by default it comes with a comma. Try it out. What is the exact answer for the below command? So starting with the first element, okay, and ending at the 10th element means -1 at an interval of 2. So of course if it's the first element, what would it be? So this is how you will execute it. The first would be 13, of course, because it starts from 13 and it talks about the 10th element. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? So 10 means -1. Right? So 0, counting again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 9. So that becomes the 10th element, of course, right? So we stop at 44 at an interval of 2. So ideally what is happening is interval is important. right? Interval is important. So I'll give you the 13th element, the 15, then 27, then 12, and then 44. Ideally it should have stopped at here, but because the interval is 2, that's why it's stopping at 44, right? So very simple, plain and simple. Now whatever you learned for the list is also applicable for a tuple. Same start, stop and step size concept is there for tuples as well. Now we will type the code exactly as below and answer the questions. So again we are importing random numbers and we are giving a seed so that every team member in the group has the same output. My tuple equals to tuple in bracket random dot rand int means random integers 10 comma 60 for x in the range 100. So it will print 100 numbers from a range of 10 to 60. So if you see, the numbers might be repeated as well. So whatever numbers you will see within this 10 and 60. Right? So let's just start. So when you execute this, again print my tuple comma, I am giving a separator so that it comes with the comma. What is the output of the following command and what does each command say? My tuple 9 is to 30 is to 3. Right, so 9th, so it would be, we are starting to the 10th element, right? And we are stopping at the 29th element and at an interval of 3. So plus 1, so 9th element would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So right, 56 is the 9th item, isn't it? Actually plus 1 because it starts from 0 and ending at the 30th element, which would be 56. So somewhere here would be roughly around 29th element would be 56, right? 56 and then at an interval of 3. I don't want you to print everything, I only want the numbers at an interval of 3. So 57, the next it will skip 3 places. Starting at 56, ending at 50 here. So you're starting here and then at an interval, so 17, then 58, then 40, then 12, then 18 and in the end 56, right? Cool enough. So now going on to the next example, what if we leave the first place blank? So we will take into account everything that starts from the beginning, which is 57. We will end at the 29th element at an interval of 3. You can execute this. Similarly, for the next example, we have my underscore tuple 80 is to an empty space. That means we want you to go till the end at an interval of 3. So we will first find out the 81st element till the end with an interval of 3. Going on to the next example, see, I'm giving you so many examples. Why? So that you practice and you become a master, because Python is more or less about tuple and list and dictionary. So if you understand this, I think majority of your concept about Python is just going to be so easy for you to execute. So now comes 60 is to 80 with no step size. That means I want you to print every number. So print my tuple 60 is to 80 is to space and separate it by a comma. So if you give this command, so I will have every number separated by a comma. Great. So moving on, so we'll stop here and then we'll go to the next one.